Story time about how I faked a pregnancy to get my boyfriend to marry me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. Okay, this is super embarrassing and I did get in trouble for this, so strap in. He's now my ex because of course he dumped my ass. He and I met in college and we were totally in love. Like, we spent every single day together and we moved in together really fast. We even stopped going to parties just to be together. About 3 years into the relationship, I told him that I definitely wanted to get married. He told me that he just wasn't ready. Then everything got really bad. He became really cold towards me. When I confronted him about it, he was honest and he told me that he just didn't love me anymore. Then he moved out and literally cut me out of his life. Even his parents told me to leave him alone. So there's a pregnant girl working at the coffee shop I usually go to. I paid her $600 to pee on a pregnancy stick. I knew this was the only way I was going to get him to marry me. I show up to my boyfriend's house, but guess who's there? He's with his ex-girlfriend sitting on the couch watching a movie. That's when I willed myself to cry and I show him the pregnancy test. Part 2 is up. So I show my ex the fake pregnancy test so that he can marry me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. Mind you, his ex is sitting on the couch waiting for him to come back so that they can finish watching their stupid movie. And when he saw that the test was positive, he started to cry. I told him that we had to talk and he told his ex to leave. Then he tells his parents to come into the room and his mom also started to cry when she saw the pregnancy test. I couldn't really tell if they were happy tears or if they were like, oh no tears. That's when I told him that I fully expected him to ask me to marry him. I even told him that I was 2 months along so we could start planning the wedding. That's when he told his parents that I was right. Then he asked me to marry him. I knew that I got what I wanted, but I had no idea how I was going to fake this pregnancy. A few days later, he moved back into our apartment. He started painting the guest room so that it could be the nursery. But here's the worst part. A month later, I was still not able to get pregnant. I didn't know what to do, so I started eating a lot of food to fake the pregnancy bump. I would eat McDonald's for breakfast and Taco Bell for dinner. Part 3 is up. In order to fake the pregnancy, I had to gain weight. So I started eating tons of food. I would have pizza every other day. I ate 2 pints of ice cream a day. And every time I passed by a fast food place, I would pick up something to eat. I was gaining a little bit of weight, so people believed me when I said I was pregnant. Finally, the wedding came around. I was so relieved once we were married because I knew I had to eventually go to the doctor. And I had decided that once the doctor said that I wasn't pregnant, I would put on a show and pretend that I just lost the baby. Well, when it finally happened, my husband straight up asked me if I made it all up. And I told him yes. It literally took him 1 hour to move out of the apartment. He went straight to get a restraining order, and my parents sent me to a psychiatrist. But you see, we're still married. He hasn't filed for divorce, so I think I should reach out to him. I know he and I will end up together. What do you guys think?
I have another story, and I'm going to do this one in one part, so I'm going to talk really fast. A few years ago, I was in my college house, and I was laying in bed with a friend, and we were just talking, and it was like 2 in the morning. It was one of those nights where you just talk all night. So we're laying in bed and talking, and my bed was against a wall, and there was like a window above it, and it was a pretty big window. And the window faced the alley part of my garden where we kept our trash cans, so it was still part of our backyard, but it was kind of like an alley. Anyway, we're laying in bed, we're talking, we're like staring up at the ceiling, and suddenly we see this perfect shadow of a person on the ceiling. You know, on social media, if you don't have a profile picture, it does like a silhouette of a person. So that was on my ceiling. So we both got quiet and I was like, do you see that? And she was like, yeah, that's so weird. I wonder what object in your room is causing that perfect shadow. And then 5 seconds later, the shadow just walked away. So then we realized there was someone standing at my window looking inside my bedroom at 2 in the morning, and we called the cops and we found footprints at the end of the garden. And I'm out of time, but basically we don't know who that was, why they were there, what they were doing, or if they ever came.
Time. So when I was little, my dad told me that while I was riding my bike one day, the neighbor was building a wooden fence. Apparently, he did such a horrible job that the fence fell on my head as I was riding my pink bike. I remember sitting on the couch with my mother with ice cubes wrapped around in some cloth on my head. My mom was pampering me and I just saw my dad with this yellow folder full of pictures of my head. And he was screaming on how he was going to sue. All this time, I thought a literal fence fell on my head, but apparently that wasn't the true story. Apparently what really happened was that I was talking back to my dad in a way that he did not like. He got so mad that he threw the remote from across the room onto my head and my head split open. My sister told me that she just saw my head dripping with blood and both my dad and my mom ran towards me and took me to the bathroom. When they came back, I had a towel wrapped around my head and my sister sat there with anger in her eyes staring at my father like she wanted to kill him. He then threatened my sister and told her to look away, so she did. I was 12 at the time and I'm now 24 when I found out. And truth be told, I can't even ride a bike.
Time.
Okay, so when I was 14, I was a freshman in high school. At the time, I wasn't really good at school. I wouldn't finish my work. School was not for me. I had this social studies teacher, we'll call him Mr. G. So Mr. G and me got along all the time. Like, this dude would let me get away with whatever. But he also knew that I sucked at finishing my work and turning in my assignments. I had Mr. G first and second semester, but I failed his class first semester, so I decided to try to get it together second semester so I could at least get 1 credit. The only problem was that he would give us assignments literally every single day. And me being me, I couldn't keep up. But I wasn't the only one because there were other kids in the class that were also missing a lot of assignments. So Mr. G gave us a free day to finish all those assignments. I took advantage of that day and I finished all my assignments, and I even turned in one of the assignments that he had given us that day. Now, I had actually tried for that assignment, so I finished it within 10 minutes. After that, I turned it into Mr. G thinking nothing of it. All of a sudden, I see this dude get up with my paper. He crumples it up, throws it in the trash can, steps on it while it's in the trash can, pours his coffee on it, and then he spits on it. So I look at him and I was like, what'd you do that for? And then he just responds with, you were cheating. I told him that I wasn't cheating and that I can prove it to him. So he was like, okay, bet. And he gave me another paper. I ended up sitting far away from everybody so that way he couldn't think that I was cheating. I finished my assignment in 5 minutes and gave it to him, and I told him that he better pay up and give me extra credit. And he did. He told me that he was sorry, but we ended up laughing in the end because that was such an extra thing to do. Time. But before I get into it, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for 90k, and thank you to everyone who has bought my acrylics. I appreciate you guys so much. Okay, so I barely met my dad 4 years ago, so our relationship has been kind of going through it these past years. He's currently in prison right now because of his baby mama. Now that baby mama has kids with him, which are my siblings, and she's a horrible person. She put him in jail, and then she had the audacity to get married with him so nobody can marry him while he's in prison. So he started talking to my mom again, and my mom and him had a thing when they were younger, so it was a nice thing to experience when they started talking again. At the moment, they're still talking, so this is when things get crazy. So I started going to my dad's mom's house, which I never did before, only my other siblings. My dad's miserable baby mama found out, and she ended up coming to my grandma's house trying to act like she could rule it. But then she had the audacity to come up to me and slap me in the face. Keep in mind, I was only 12 years old at the time. After that, my mom came over and I was crying, but I was trying to keep it together because I was about to go crazy. Mainly because nobody should put their hands on me, especially my dad's baby mama. So my mom ended up finding out what happened, and she ended up going crazy on her. It was scary. Now, my mom is bigger than her, so you could imagine how that went. Long story short, my mom ended up beating her up, and my dad's baby mama never came back to my grandma's house again. After that situation happened, I still talk to my other siblings, but I'm pretty sure that my dad's baby mama tries to brainwash them. Mainly because my sister gets into a lot of fights with me for no reason, but I just ignore it because I'm pretty sure it's the mom. Keep in mind, my dad's miserable baby mama told my dad to deny me for 8 years. She even told him not to talk to me or ever try to find me, or she would leave him. So that's why when she found out that I was going to my grandma's house, she went crazy, but I don't care because I'm a part of the family now.
My daughter, Savannah, is the CEO of faking illness to get out of school. So when she does not feel like being there, she will go to the nurse's office and complain to them that she is really not feeling good so that they call me and I have to go get her. Well, one day after this happens, I walk into the administrative office and everybody is really concerned because Savannah is sitting in a chair like so dramatically like, hi, Mom. And like when I saw her, I burst out laughing. I was like, oh my God, are you okay? And everybody looked at me like I was some really bad mom. Like, oh my God, why aren't you more concerned? But as we were walking out, she was walking really slow and actually didn't look good. So even I was a little concerned. I was like, oh my God, honey, are you okay? Until we got to the car when Savannah looks at me and goes, you know what, Mom? I feel better now. And I was like, Savannah, are you serious? And she's like, Mom, do you maybe want to go to Starbucks and have like a girls' day? And I was like, honey, what kind of question is that? You know I do.